So do you think your love language has changed over time from when you were younger as opposed to when you gotten older?
Yeah.
So when you were younger, what was it all about versus what's now?
Quality time was a big thing for me back then.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's not as important as it was back then. Like, you always had to be in my presence. A relationship was you doing things together all the time.
Oh, wow. Even when you were younger?
Even when I was younger.
Nope.
I was me complete.
But that was my thought. I wasn't getting that.
I like quality time, but I don't necessarily mean we have to be chitty chatty the whole time. I just like having you there sometimes, but I also like my alone time too.
Yeah.
So I think when you break these things down, you need to really provide some additional meaning about what those things actually mean to you, because they don't mean this. Even though they give you a baseline of what they are, that don't mean they mean the same to everybody.
For everybody,
same way.
yeah, I know that.
At least that's how I think about it. So. Welcome to another episode of the Not Your Average Auntie podcast, where we keep it real, raw, and relatable in our conversations while sharing our opinions. We'd love for you to join in on the conversations, as these are experiences that either you can resonate with or have your own experiences that you can share. So make sure you tune in, subscribe, share, and provide some comments and feedbacks.
So what's our topic today?
Love languages. Love languages.
She's going to speak in her sexy voice when she's talking about love languages. Love languages. The audience want to hear you, but you can say it a little louder in your sexy voice.
Love languages. What does that look like? Are you the touchy type? Are you the person that needs affirmations? Do you like receiving gifts and in exchange that's how you express your love? What's your love language?
So we know there is technically, quote unquote, 5 love languages. I think you spoke about 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
Affirmations, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, physical touch.
Yes.
So, Key, what's your love language?
So first of all, there are 5, but then when you do some research, they said they're like 5 to 7.
Okay.
But
does it mean it's a combination, or does it mean
some of it's some weird shit?
Okay.
But for me, I'm going to say I don't lean on any one over the other. Like, I love words of affirmations, like tell me I'm beautiful, tell me I'm the greatest. I love all that, right? Mm-hmm. I love the acts of service. Do stuff for me without me having to ask for it. I love receiving, gift me, baby. I love a good gift. Quality time. I like good quality time, but we don't always have to be with each other all the time. I like my alone time too. But I like some quality time. And then the physical touch, I like to spoon and cuddle, I like that stuff. So for me, I can't say that I have one more than the other. I like them all.
I would imagine almost any person likes them all, right?
Yeah.
Some people don't like to be touched.
Well, true.
Yeah, no.
Very true. People don't like to be touched. I get that. But I think for the most part, a lot of these things you can say you have more than one type of acts of service that you would appreciate.
Yeah.
And if you had to, Kira clearly doesn't want to rank them because she said she likes them all.
I like them all.
And you can't rank them. You don't want to rank
I would say the one that's least for me is the quality time. Because I know I have time when I need to be, we need to be together, but I really enjoy my time apart too.
Yes.
And so for me, I guess I like them all because I reciprocate. I give them all. So I expect them all in return. That's just me. I don't rank them.
I agree.
I'm weird like that.
So, Joe, you have any one that you would put in a specific ranking order, or
acts of service that turn me on? So if you do things for me and I ain't have to ask you, that's a big turn on for me.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily needing words of affirmation. I don't need to say it all the time. I'd rather you show me. Your actions tell me how you feel.
Right.
But it's nice to hear every once in a while. I love a good gift. I don't receive many of them, so when I do get them, it does mean something to me.
Yeah.
That's why when I buy gifts for people, I want it to have meaning to it.
Yes.
You're supposed to know who you're buying for. So when they receive it, they know that you were paying attention, that you were listening.
Yeah. They were in mind when you purchased that gift.
And then physical touch.
We know how you feel on that one. But the audience doesn't, so tell them.
Especially if they know what they're doing.
Okay.
And I love my quality time. As I said, I agree with Kira. I don't need it all the time. But when I am in the mood, sit down, watch a good movie, pop some popcorn. Little things like that, cuddle on the couch, little things like that mean something.
But gifts of touch doesn't always have to be sexual. It could just be like
it's just
a hand, walking if you outside, see, they touch your bottom of your back or something, or holding hands, or,
And that's what I was going to say, because like they give you these 5 categories. They give you what they possibly mean. Like when they say words of affirmation, expressing affection through spoken word, praise, or appreciation. And even further, like you said, expounding on touch. Physical touch doesn't have to be sexual. Physical touch could be those types of things. But me, quality time doesn't have to be you taking up my time and we having to interact. Quality time can mean you just actually being in my presence and being in my space. So I like quality time, but I don't necessarily mean we have to be chitty chatty the whole time. I just like having you there sometimes, but I also like my alone time too.
Yeah.
So I think when you break these things down, you need to really provide some additional meaning about what those things actually mean to you. Because they don't mean this, even though they give you a baseline of what they are, that don't mean they mean the same to everybody in the same way.
I know that.
At least that's how I think about it. So
the only thing I could take away from all this is my number one is a hug.
So you like
I
that?
love hugs.
The touch is the thing for you.
But just the hugging, we don't need to do anything else.
No, but I'm saying that's a thing. That's touching, physical touch is a
thing for me. Yes.
Fun fact about how this even came about. So concept of the language of love was introduced by a pastor, Gary Chapman. He came up about this by observing couples in marriages and counseling. So it says that he noticed that couples often misunderstood each other's expressions of love, leading to feelings of neglect and resentment. So he identified 5 primary ways people can give and receive love, and that's how the love languages were
I didn't even know
developed.
that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I love fun facts.
Good fun fact. I love a good fun fact too. Like I said, I like them all. But even like, I think it's healthy to display them all.
Yes.
But I do have a question.
Yeah.
So do you think your love language has changed over time from when you were younger as opposed to when you gotten older?
Yeah.
So when you were younger, what was it all about versus what's now?
Quality time was a big thing for me back then. But now it's not as important as it was back then. Like you always had to be in my presence. A relationship was you doing things together all the time.
Oh, wow. Even when you were younger?
Even when I was younger.
Nope.
Not me. I was me complete.
But that was my thought. I wasn't getting that.
Yeah.
But still, and then now it's not as important for me. No. I like my alone time, but I also like, as long as the person is here, even if they're in the house, that's something that like how Janine put it. As long as you're in my presence in some way, we don't need to be in the same room. Because then when I want that hug, I can just walk up to you, get it, and walk away.
Go about your business.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Got what I needed. Bye.
Everybody's different. Like the whole 24/7 thing. Like if I'm getting my hair done, no, I don't need you there.
Yeah,
if I'm getting my nails done, I don't need. So even back when I was younger, like I needed my space.
Yeah.
Give me something. Let's miss each other.
But
I'm a firm believer of missing each other.
Hair done. That's not spending time together.
Some people do that crazy
stuff. They are
with
each other.
That's too much for me.
Damn near 24/7. Like everything. She's at the barbershop with him. He's at the nail salon with
that's
her.
Too much for me.
That's too much. Nah.
Yeah. I mean, they do those things. I mean, I was a big time loner as a kid, so I didn't really.
Yeah, I didn't.
Quality time was quality time with myself, basically. But yeah, I started to appreciate quality time more because I'm also a believer of you don't need to be under each other all the time. So that missing each other means it brings something when you guys get together, and that's with your lover, your friends. When you get together, it's like something fresh and renewed in that space when instead of being under each other all the time. Acts of service have become very important to me because I appreciate when I don't have to tell you what I want or need.
Exactly. You just
have
know.
that forethought in mind because you see how I move and operate. That means you're thinking about me when you do something that I didn't have to do. It's like, she needed that or she wants that or whatever.
Exactly.
And they get it done and you come. And that's almost like a gift at the same time, right? So That's the way I enjoy and appreciate acts of service more now. And I think that's because I was a person who never used to ask for help. I always did everything myself.
Exactly. Yep.
So now I'm come to where I want help when I really need it and stop trying to always figure things out for myself. So yeah, that's for me.
I mean, I'll ask for it, but if you really go about your way to do it for me and I didn't have to say a word to you, boy, you getting you getting it tonight.
She always going down the path of you, child. That's stay on
because
your mind
that's a big
all the
component,
time.
at least for me. I mean, I don't want to be in a marriage or in a relationship where there's no physical touch, because I know people who are just together for companionship and nothing more. There's no physical touch, and that's not me. That's a big part of me, and especially if the chemistry is there, that's just an added plus.
I feel you. How important is it for couples to really know their love languages? How do you think that's really important for people to know it?
I believe so.
Okay. Absolutely. But they have to know it themselves. Like, you have to know what your love language is for yourself before your partner can even have an idea of what that is for you.
Yeah. And that's by paying attention and conversation, communicating.
Do you think people tend to express love in their own love language instead of their partner's love language?
Say that question again.
Do you think people tend to express love in their own love language instead of their partner's love language? So, for example, using Joe as an example, she's big on physical touch.
Right.
So she's going to always express the physical touch aspect, whereas maybe her partner's like, I like gifts.
Right.
So all this touchy stuff, that's good, but do you think people tend to do it in their own language instead of learning their partners? And they have just a tendency to, this is what I like, so I'm going to do what I like instead of learning what they like.
In the beginning, if you're paying attention to each other, you're going to learn what their language is. Now, after a amount of time when it's been established we are in a relationship, if you continue to express your love language, not by your partners, but by yourself, is at some point is going to be an issue. Because now they're not going to get excited, and they're going to always be like, every time, let's say your husband comes in the room and you know that he doesn't like to be hugged, but every time he come in the room, you go hugging him. So now time goes on. Every time he see you, here come this chick.
Well, that comes down to goes back to the communication piece of it, right? So, and finding that balance. So if you're willing to work with that partner, so if your love language is touch and the partner's is more of gift giving, you have to have that balance. You have to be able to, okay, I'm going to receive some of those hugs that they're coming over here to give me. And the opposite is that I'm going to have to realize maybe they don't want to be touched today or whatever. I have to express my way in the way that they want to be loved. Their love language.
I just think the love language has to be somewhat similar.
No.
It can't be completely off.
You think
What do you mean by similar?
Using the example again, your husband doesn't like to be touched, period.
Just can I just say that's some weirdness.
Yeah,
but we're gonna use that example.
I don't know how that's possible.
But
exactly.
There's some weird stuff going on.
How you gonna do the do and you don't want to be touched?
Exactly.
No, across the room.
At some
come on now, no, come on.
At some point, it's going to be an issue because if you like being touched all the time, or if you at least like the occasional hug, and you keep on in a relationship knowing that your partner does not like to be touched, that can cause friction later on down the road. That's a red flag.
But I'm saying at least you got to find a balance. You can't.
But there is no balance because one person wants, even if it's just occasional, they don't have it as often as they would like. If the other person is not willing to compromise in any way on that and always catches an attitude or feels some type of way every time you at least try to come stand next to them or hold their hand, it's going to cause friction later on.
But that's not the balance.
So why
of the
continue
compromise?
a relationship in that way?
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Because that's not balancing and compromising.
Exactly.
Because relationships are just compromises in a relationship. So if your love language is touch, and that's not your partner's love language, and your partner wants to make this relationship work, they're going to have to allow you to touch them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're speaking to the mismatched love language in a relationship.
It wouldn't work.
It just won't work.
Unless I don't think so.
Unless there's some sort of compromise.
It has to be a compromise, but that's in relationships, period. Anyways, you're compromising. Because I can't say that you have to have the same love language as me.
But it would be nice.
I guess, because listen, I'm not big on gift giving, so I mean, I give gifts, but I don't think if it's important to that person, then yeah, I'll give gifts to that person because that's what's important to them. But it's not something that I do on a just because kind of thing.
But see, that can be compromised on because you're giving your signs or love language in different ways. And if your partner is accepting of that and doesn't need gifts and he's okay with that, then that's fine. Me, physical touch, there has to be compromise. There can't be one person that completely hates it and one person that loves it, or at least halfway loves it.
Yeah.
And wants it once in a while to compromise for this person.
Yeah.
And this other person is not willing to compromise on that. Just don't touch me. So then why are we in a relationship? If I can't, not even in closed doors, I can touch you?
Yeah, I don't see how
I
that
can
could
see
work.
if you
That's
don't want to be
crazy.
touched in public, then
Even
that's
that's crazy.
Even that's crazy. That's crazy to me too.
Listen,
if you're in a relationship, it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah,
exactly. At all.
I just don't see how it's possible.
but I'm not gonna.
I can understand that in certain ways, it just cannot not happen at all. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You cannot be touched at all.
There's some I know of couples. They're no longer together, but they would. So story time, right? So when my husband comes home, he's going to kiss me.
Okay.
Doesn't matter who's around. Doesn't matter what's going on.
And that's how
he comes through the door. I'm getting a kiss, and he's gonna go, "How you doing?" If I'm with you guys, he'll say, "Hey, whatever," and he's gonna go about his business. There was an instance where I had a friend who she witnessed that, and she was like, "Wow," because she witnessed that on multiple occasions, and she was like, we don't do that. So she actually shared that with me, and I thought, I was like, well, that's weird. She was like, but we just don't, like, he comes in the door and he just goes about his business. To me, I find that as a sign of disrespect because I am your wife. You came home. I don't care who's in, you got to acknowledge me. The only time you acknowledge someone else is our kids when they were like toddlers running up, Daddy.
Yeah.
Then, of course, you're going to acknowledge the baby first. And then I come, and the same thing when I come in the room or whatever. It's the same thing.
I don't even agree with that. I still think he should. I mean, if the kids rushed up in before he gets to you, that's one thing. But if you guys are in the same space at the same time,
well, that's different.
He should greet you first and then, because people always make the mistake of, putting kids before their spouses.
Yes. But if they're in an instance where they're running up to him, yes,
definitely makes sense.
So when she shared that with me, I automatically said something wrong. But in my mind, I didn't tell her something wrong with your marriage, even though I already felt something was wrong with it anyway. I'm not going to insert myself. I'm going to just let her vent. She thought what we had was kind of weird because that's not what she was used to.
And how long were they together?
Quite a long time.
Oh, wow.
But because people get into a routine, right? So the routine was that he came in, went on about his business, and I'm sitting there doing whatever I'm doing. That became a routine. But
she accepted it.
And accepted it. But I wonder, even though it may appear that she thought it was weird, do you think she really was wondering, like, why don't we do that?
Oh no, for sure. Knowing who she was, she definitely was.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're no longer together.
Why they don't do it also goes back to the lack of communication and not saying what you need. What are the things that you need from your partner? And so I think that's where it can't become an expectation just because I know what my love language is and I'm demonstrating what my love language is to you. So if my love language is giving gifts, and I expect and I want to get gifts because that's my love language, so I'm going to give gifts because that's my love language, right?
Okay.
That doesn't mean that person is going to do the same thing because that's not their love language. So if you don't express that, I like to give gifts, I like to get gifts, but I also like to give gifts. I show my love that way, but I also want to be known that I'm loved that way. And that person doesn't know that, then you can't expect them to figure it out. You got to tell them that. So, and if their response is, well, my love language is X, Y, and Z, it may be different, not gift giving. But now they know that you like to get gifts. So they can make an effort to give you gifts. It doesn't have to be on a regular cadence. It doesn't have to be an expectation, but they know, okay, my partner likes gifts. I'm going to give them a gift. Whenever I feel in need of something cross my mind or I think they would appreciate this, I'm going to give that to them. And then vice versa, whatever it is that other person likes, it may not be your love language, but you got to try and accommodate them if you want to make that.
If you want to make it work.
Yes.
You want to make it work.
So do you think that there are people that don't believe in this concept of love languages?
I think you're always going to find people that's going to think any relatively new concept is hokey pokey to them.
Mm-hmm.
You're always gonna find, and those same people would probably be the people that don't go to therapy or believe that's hokey pokey or you're weak. You know,
I know. I get it. Because you got some weirdos out there that don't even believe in the period. So, you know.
So, I mean, I just think that those people are they just believe, let me hook up with somebody and that's that, and not understanding the communication of the languages, because it is a real thing.
I think it's a real thing. I think people who don't believe in it just are being lazy because they don't want to have to commit to anything.
So say that again, please.
I think they don't want to commit to anything. They don't want to do the work that takes to be in a relationship, and exercising those muscles of having your love language and demonstrating what your love language is takes effort. And I think they're lazy and they don't want to commit. So that's why they don't. That's their excuse. I don't believe in the love language. I don't want to buy gifts. I don't want to perform acts of service.
Okay.
I don't want you to touch me. I don't want to touch you. That's just all a fucking excuse. Excuse me.
Don't tell me you're going to do something and don't do it.
Oh.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Absolutely.
I feel you on that. Let me ask the question. Have you ever been in a situation where someone's love language annoyed you? So, case in point, where you said you don't need words of affirmation.
Okay.
I'm going to use that as an example. Have you ever, someone that constantly needed to be affirmed?
And then you have to accommodate that.
There's men in general just want to know that, they just want to know that you love them, or they got to hear it.
They got to hear I love you.
I ain't got to say it all the time, especially if
you're generalizing. Not all men need to hear it all the time. Maybe the ones
that you knew were involved.
Not all men need to hear it all the time, but
because they don't even say it themselves.
There are men out there.
Okay, thank you. Let's reframe. Good job.
That need affirmation all the time, not just hearing the word love, just in general. That can be annoying.
What about you?
Well, I think in the acts of service piece of it, if the acts of service is not something that has me in mind, but more of you in mind, then that would annoy me.
Yes.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because you're doing this to me, in my mind, your performance acts of service your thought was not fully, I was not fully in the thought.
No.
When you did this. You just did this because, I don't know, maybe pat yourself on the back. I have no idea why, but it had nothing to do with what I would probably want or need in that moment.
Got it. I think for me, two things. The words of affirmation. That would, if I have to constantly affirm you, and mind you, I do that naturally. I'm naturally building someone up. I'm naturally trying to empower you to be the best you could be.
And the words are not going to always be the same when you do. I think that's where it comes at. They want the same exact word all the time. Like I can say I love you in many different ways.
Yes.
Correct.
Exactly.
So, but if you feel if I say it and you're like, oh, you didn't do this, so you didn't, and it seems to be repetitive, I'm gonna be like, you're not the one. It's too much, because I naturally do that. For me to naturally do it, and it's like, but I just told you that, and because and maybe, this goes back to the question I asked earlier. Maybe the way I'm feeling is because I don't need it all the time. I affirm myself. Now, it's great if you say it to me. Like I said, tell me I'm beautiful. Tell me I'm the best. Tell me I'm your rock, everything. I love all that. And the reason why I love it is because I'm saying it to you if I believe it. And I think it's a great way for me to hear how you feel about us, me, right? But if I have to, but I don't need it all the time. It doesn't have to be every day. So it's just weird if I find that if I was with someone that needed to hear it every day, I don't know, it's like a sign of weakness to me. I know that's so bad. I know that's so bad, but
like they don't know how to big themselves up.
You can't, and I can't be with nobody that can't big you up. I can't be with anybody that can't big themselves up.
Those are the people
that's not the person for me. That's all.
Yeah,
that's for somebody else, and I'm okay with that.
They looking for what was the
validation?
We talked about that before. People looking for validation. So.
I have another question, really quickly. How do love languages show up outside of romantic relationships, like with your friends, your family,
exactly,
even your coworkers,
even your pets.
Your pets, how do they show up outside?
I'm going to use Raven as an example. So now that I have a dog, I have a Cane Corso, and I love my dog. I treat her like she's a child. My kids seem to think now that I'm giving my dog, my Raven, more attention that I give them.
Okay, can you reframe something? Because when you say kids for the audience, they're not kids.
They're not kids anymore. They're grown adults.
So that'd be a whole different thing if they were kids, even though we use that word.
And this is why I'm laughing about it, because they're grown. My daughter has a family of her own. But to her, because I went and purchased a dog, I'm taking away the time and attention that my grandbaby should be getting. And that's not the case. There's a lot of other factors that play into why we don't see each other as often as we should.
Fair enough. And I think Raven, even though she's not formally your service dog, I feel like that's your service dog.
Yes.
That's just what I see.
Yeah. Which is fine. She calms me down. She keeps me
emotionally supportive.
Balanced, yes. And she's there when I need her.
So I feel you on that. What about you?
For me, if I was to think about acts of service outside of relationships, for my kids, it's always encouragement. It's always being supportive and being there when they need me, providing guidance and advice. Similar, same thing at work, providing words of encouragement to your coworkers, congratulating them when they do things. And family, the same way. It's just always, and having a listening ear, just being there, just being available sometimes. Those are, to me, I guess that comes with acts of service, I guess. And words of affirmations.
Yes.
I feel like for me, I show up almost the same way. It just might be a slightly different version of Key with respect to love languages as it relates to my family and friends, but it's still the same. So I still don't need everybody to be up under me, and I ain't got to be up under them. So that quality time, we could kiki together, and I'm gone.
You got to go. Oh, I got to go.
And, somebody got to go, right? And I'm okay with, but I doesn't mean I don't have a good time. It's like my time is there, and we had the time, and I'm good now. Same thing with gifts. I could give a gift, receive a gift. Same thing. It's almost the same. And obviously, words of affirmation, I'm going big up everybody, because I feel like we all got something special, a little bit of magic in us that we should be sharing with the world, right? So I'm always going big up. That's just something within me. So I feel like it's the same. With coworkers, it's a little bit different. It's a slightly less version. Meaning, because I'm not here for a long time with you. You know what I'm saying? We're not really so. And it all depends on, because there are some coworkers that I've had from way back in the day that we've developed into a friendship.
Okay.
That's different.
Yes.
As opposed to the coworker that I really can't stand.
Right.
You're going to get the
well, they didn't get none of this stuff, so.
I'm going to give you some else. But yeah, so that's how that goes.
Coworkers, I keep it simple. Cause you're at work. It's only 2 people in my whole career that I've actually made friends with outside of work. And we've remained friends through the years. My friends, unfortunately, I show more love to my friends than I do with family, because the love is not the way I would like it to be. And this is not just my own children. I'm talking my extended family in general. I was never brought up to show love and affection in a way that I experienced with you guys. And even watching you with your own families. You grew up in that way. I didn't have that. I didn't really start hugging my mom until I was, in my 30s? Because she didn't like, she was one of those that didn't like being touched. Now it seems like she likes it more. So that's the first thing that I do every time I see her.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
And that's heavy.
So I try not to do that with my kids, but unfortunately...
You tried that, I don't understand.
I tried not to be the same way with my children as I grew up. Not having that affection.
So you gave them affection.
I gave them affection all the time. Now it's not, now that they're grown adults, only one, every time he sees me, I get the big hug and the kiss all the time. Then there's another one, more times is because they want something. It's not genuine all the time. And then with the third, I just don't really get it. We may say it now to each other, but I don't never get a hug or a kiss or anything like that when we come around each other. I usually either have to try and get it, or I just, say the words, I love you, see you later. But there's never no affection.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, 2 things I was thinking about actually as you were speaking. So one thing we've learned, and I think it's been said, that old saying of love, family is not always blood related. Family can be anybody who acts and behaves and treats you like family. And then the other thing I was thinking about, because I think about, I don't know how old your mom is.
She's 80.
She's a couple of years younger than my grandmother. But I just felt like sometimes that era or the things that they dealt with, I had to go through, it made them seem,
coarse.
Stern and not effective. I wouldn't say they didn't want it. They didn't have it to give, maybe. So now she's appreciating it. Because the reason why I thought about it, because my grandmother, she wasn't a big hugger either when I was young. But as I got older, she always wanted hugs. And so it was wonderful to see that transition. My mother was a big hugger. She always hugged. But to see my grandmother kind of soften, I think they start to soften up and realize the importance of those things. So maybe I'm just thinking that maybe that's why you didn't have that experience.
Yeah. And
So
the first time she did it, it took me aback because I wasn't
used to
it at all. So now it made me happy, and now every time I see her, now I be wanting a hug from her, but she's in Florida.
That's all right.
So make those
virtual hugs. Give it those virtual hugs.
It's more important when you get the real ones in real life. So cherish every moment of that.
You just brought me to, I just wanted to ask a question. So because you made mention about like telling your kids that you love them. How often do you do that?
I say it every time now when we're on the phone in person.
But prior to, that's now, but prior to now.
I said it back then, but now is because I don't get to see them like I had them when they were home with me. Once they moved out, there was feelings happening. So for a while, I didn't hear it. And then now I just make sure I say it every time I get off the phone.
And that's the important part.
That's important. Yeah. How about you?
As long as you do it. Do it.
How often you tell them, your kids, that you love them?
Probably not as often as I should. Because it's always when we depart each other. It's always when we depart each other, or we hang up from a phone call, something like that. Absolutely. But it's not, if we're in a house just, joshing around, hanging around in the house, I don't just always say it like that. Yeah. But it depends on if you're having a conversation about certain things and it comes up, then but it's not like I wake up. First of all, we barely see each other in the morning because we're all on different schedules. But it's not like we say good morning to each other. So, but we don't say good morning, I love you, something like that. But whenever we depart each other or we hang up on a call, we say those things.
You must have a weird. Oh, I don't know if it's weird, but no. Every night, good night, I love you. Every night, from when they were kids.
But do you speak to your kids every night? That's the question. You speak to them
every night that I'm in the house, and if I'm there, one of us will be like, "Good night, love you." My husband and I, that's what we do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, and it almost had me thinking, because even my youngest adult son, like, it's just innate with him. Good night, mom, love you. Good night, dad, love you. I wonder, I was like, okay, when he gets older and he has his own family, like, or his girlfriend or something, like, is he gonna be? Is that something that is already innate within him? Because some people might find it weird.
It's not weird at all.
No, if you're not used to it. Well, I don't think it's weird, because obviously
I don't think it's weird at all.
But for someone on the outside, that's like a family you grew up in, where maybe you didn't hear that a lot. You might be like, ooh, this motherfucker love me. You know what I'm saying? If he came from an environment like that, but that's something, and maybe he does, but that's also something that he's so used to, because that's how he was brought up. You get what I'm saying?
I think it's important to make sure it's someone that you actually really truly love when you say it. So it can't just be willy-nilly. But I don't think anything's wrong with that. I just think, and we probably never thought about it, not to make excuses, but we're so opposite end on schedules at times. There are times I'm in the bed and they're not at home or whatever, but it's something, that you put into a forethought for me to be mindful of that, because when we are in the house, I mean, we know we love each other, but to hear it is good. And I think
that was the part. I didn't hear it a lot. I knew my brothers loved me. I knew my parents loved me because of the things that they did. And the things that they provided. But it would have been nice to hear it more often than I did.
Yeah, I think that's where I got comfortable.
That's why I guess that's not a big thing for me, the affirmation piece. Because I want the actions. You show me by doing things that you know that I like, that you know that'll make me happy. Without me having to ask, that's the best volume more than anything else.
I think they go hand in hand, kind of honestly. Like if you do, if it's within you to say I love you, then say it. Don't don't just hold back because you know you're going to do something to
I'll
show
say
it.
it, yeah.
Just do it. Just say it. So
Because we're not promised tomorrow.
That is
I
true.
mean,
that's why I've been more inclined.
that's why,
to say it
it's more inclined, because you were just not promised. Anything could happen. And listen, let's be for real. We, right here on this panel, we got more days behind us than we got ahead of us. Let's just keep it a buck.
Yes.
So I just feel like, I don't know, I feel, especially with my loved ones, I want to say, I tell them I love them, but I also have people in my extended family that's a little weird to hear it. So, and I know that. So if I know that, then maybe I won't say it.
Yeah. It's something you brought something up.
But I'm not like that with you guys. I say it all the time.
No, of course.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking, but I'm saying even in my family, like there's some members that you guys know that they're just not, that's not how they were brought up in their own nucleus, right?
Yeah.
So if it slipped out, they'd be looking at me like, I'm like, yeah, girl, I love
no,
you.
I tell my listen, I think for most calls I hang up on with people that are really near and dear to me, it ends with "I love you."
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was thinking about my daughter one day. She heard us talking to each other. I think we was probably having a call meeting or something like that.
Okay.
And she was like, "You guys don't say I love you at the end of your meetings?" And I was like, "No." She was like, "Why?" I said, "Do you guys do that?" She was like, "Absolutely." She said, "These are your friends." And to your point, we have more days behind us than ahead of us. You should always, anybody who's significant in your life and meaningful,
Tell them.
means something to you in your life. Tell them that you love them at the end of any conversation or departure that you leave, and say I love you. Because my biggest thing, I used to not say goodbye. I used to always I said I see you later. Saying goodbye to me just means forever to me. So I never.
I thought I was the only one that felt that way.
When I hang up, talk to you later, see you later. When I leave, see you later. And to me, that was my kind of I love you, I guess, so to speak. But I think the actual words would mean more. So yeah.
I love you, Shakira, and I love
Don't
you.
Don't be using my government name on this thing. I love you too, girl.
Say it over. I love you. I love you, Joe. I love you, Key.
I love you, Jay. I love you, Joe.
Oh, God. There's an unpopular opinion out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unpopular opinion.
Unpopular opinions that love language aren't enough without solid communications. I don't see why that's an unpopular opinion. I agree with that. You can't just have a love language and not communicate what that is.
Exactly.
I agree. I agree with you. I don't understand why that's an unpopular opinion.
I don't agree with that.
I think just like we talked about earlier, there has to be some elements of vulnerability so you can actually share what your love language is in a relationship. And it needs to be heard.
Yep.
And then reciprocated.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I think sometimes people use that term unpopular opinion to
start some sugar honey iced tea. That's a
so to your unpopular opinion, make it make sense.
There you go. There you go.
So let's ask the audience to leave in the comments what their love languages are, what they believe about the whole theory of love languages.
Okay.
So what y'all think about these love languages?
Tune in. Let us know.
Let us know in the chat, in the comments. What
DM us on social media.
Yeah.
Whatever.
What's your love language? What do you get off on?
She said get off on.
I mean, all of it's gives you a little bit of a boost. All of it gives you a little boost, right?
What's that, the cortisol levels?
So, yeah.
I don't know.
And look, at our age, we need them cortisol levels. I'll see y'all later.
Cheers, people.
Not your average aunties, keeping it real, raw, and relatable.
Real, raw,
in
relatable,
our conversations and our opinions.
Until
We appreciate
next
y'all.
time.